Hey, it's Nay, and welcome to Nay's Little Garden. So, like I said, we're back inside. We're going to talk about succession planting, fall planting, so on and so forth. So, grab your drink, grab your snack. Here's my drink. Let's jump right into it. So, I kind of did a little sketch. My garden's a little hard to sketch to somewhat type of a scale because it's long. So I did a little bit of what I could here. Down here is actually over here. And then I might be adding a little section on the side of my my deck. It's been cleared out, so it's ready just for some raised beds or whatever. So that's cool. I'm not counting that in what we're about to talk about though. So I'm gonna make this as simple as possible. I don't want to stress myself out. Like I made myself a little, this is where things could be planted before. If you guys watch those videos, and I kind of used it as a general thing. And everything didn't go exactly where it was supposed to, like in specific spots, but it gave me a good generalization. So when I was moving things to put, okay, we're gonna plant these there and these there, for the most part, I did follow up reasonably. So the reason why I drew this out is because over here in the majority of this raised bed over here and like this is my onions, and then most of these beds right here are my garlic. So that means that when I pull those, I can go ahead and plant something else. What does that mean? Succession planting. So if I were to, excuse me, let me think. So if I were to plant out certain things, think like, let's say I can pull my onions in about 4 weeks. I have those 6 cells, so basically 6 plants that I can plant out. That's gonna take up 6 square foot of that. So those are tomatoes and peppers, right? So those will take up 6 square feet in and of themselves that I can plant out, and that's gonna be harvestable for end of summer into fall, right? Because you're gonna have to have time. It's gonna go through a slight plant shock, then it's gonna grow, and it's gonna grow, and then it's gonna start budding, and then it's gonna, right? So, and then also it could be something like your succession plants can't, well, my succession plan, I'm gonna talk about myself specifically, so because we all have different growing zones. I'm growing in zone 6. So if I'm pulling these at the end of June, right? Because we're about to go into June. So let's say I pull them at the end of June. Beginning of July. I think that's 30 days for July, 30 days for August. That's 60. That's going to give me about, I guess, I want to say about 70 more days. I'm guesstimating here of growing time before we have dangers of frost, right? So then I'm planting out, like, for example, carrots. I have to see if broccoli and cauliflower is worth the plant there. Another thing of beans. I'm gonna put a question mark next to the broccoli, but definitely carrots. Broccoli is a question mark. Beans, beets. I made beet juice with beets and carrot juice the other day with some honey in it, and it was so good for my kids. And they still kind of said it was a little. They were like, "What?" Well, one of my children was like, "Ooh," and then my other 2 were like, "Ee," and I'm like, "Drink it anyway." And only one kid only drank some of it. The other 2 drank all of it. So I will take it. Carrots, broccoli, beans, beets. Now we're in the thick of summer, to be real with you. So you really could probably even pick up, excuse me, sheesh. You can even pick up some more. I wouldn't do the end of June. Yeah, I would say I would even possibly do some tomatoes. I don't think I would do any more peppers. carrots, broccoli, beans, tomatoes. I feel like June is still quite early. I might even, would you say potatoes would even be good? Because by the time they reach the end of June. Because the other thing would be as well, right? Like you're looking at the onions. Some are going to be ready before others. Like some already are this big, which to me is insane. I haven't grown before, so this could be completely on track, or I could even be a little behind with the growth of the onions. But they're like, some of them are already this big, and then some of them look like this. So I'll probably be able to pull up some earlier than the others. But let's just say for right now, carrots, broccoli, beans, beets, tomatoes. I can't think of anything else in that type of heat of summer that I would, with only about 70 days. Like, I don't think I would plant out any peppers. Even if you do pepper starts, it's still gonna take it a while because the peppers might start forming before the first frost, but they won't ripen before my first frost. I don't believe, because my first frost is like beginning of October-esque, and we could mess around and not have a frost, but it also is going to get cold, and most importantly, the amount of sunlight hours starts not rapidly, but it does start declining. Like now, it's like insane. It's like 8 o'clock at nighttime, and the sun is still outside, right? Because we're not used to that. Like I'm used to like 4 o'clock. It's just blackout time. like what's going on? So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna just leave it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there and not anything else, because I truly can't think of anything else. Because I'm gonna show you, this is where my, the arch trellis is. So all of the plants around here and here, not all actually, now that I'm thinking that out loud, I want to say about 2/3 of the plants on this side and about a little more than half on this side are my winter squash. So what does that mean? That means that they won't come out. They're gonna be there until August. And I'll probably be harvesting them in August to let them sit out and dry out. I just don't want to have, I'm wondering if it makes sense right now to go start maybe some, I have my seeds right here. Why am I acting like I can't look? Because in that heat of the summer, it might be too much to start certain things. Like if I started more eggplants now, wouldn't that be the prime time to plant out some eggplants? Because how many days is this? This is actually not telling me how many days. Let's see. So this is the Black Beauty eggplant. This is saying 75 days. So if I were to start them now, I might be able to plant some of these out in about 4 to 6 weeks from now. They'll be small, but they might grow and yield me right before the first frost at least one flush of more eggplants, which would be quite useful. This one might be pushing it. This is saying eggplant Rosa Bianca, but I'll plant those out. Yeah, I'm gonna just, Brussels sprouts is something that I'm not gonna waste my time. Oh, cucumbers is definitely something. I'm gonna plant cucumbers out. I'm kind of interested about the ground cherries, but I'm also kind of like, yikes, I'm scared. I don't think I've ever eaten ground cherries, so I don't even know if I'm gonna have a reaction to them. Speaking of which, what's going on with the okra? Where is my okra? There we go. No peppers. No peppers. Bush beans. I could probably plant out. See, I wouldn't do any like greens because it'd be too hot, no? Like the squashes, I need so much time. I don't think I'm gonna start any tomatoes, guys. I just feel like I have so many tomatoes. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try to start some stuff. I'm gonna put the cucumbers directly outside seed-wise though, because this should also grow. I have, I believe, 2 eggplants out already, but you want a succession plant. So that is like the fall type of thing. But I'm gonna leave these 2 raised beds alone, the 4x2s, because I'm gonna move them and then re-put the soil back in there, and then I'm gonna plant some of my garlic in there. This was primarily what I wanted to talk about. I want to plant out, so I think I'm going to harvest about 10 garlic cloves this year, 10 garlic, and that is not horrible. That's something, right? It could be nothing. And when you break that down, right, if you start using it in September and you use 1 garlic thing per week, right? So you use 2 cloves of, like, for whatever, but let's just say 1 a week, that's going to last you 2 months. Which isn't terrible. That's September and October, and then you'll have maybe 1 more clove for into November. It's not terrible. It's not good. Because if I was thinking along the lines of now also wanting to have garlic powder, minced garlic, you know, for type of saving and all of that good jazz, now that's like absolutely nothing. Now I don't want to like quite say triple my garlic, but in a 4x2 bed, I think they said you could plant 4 garlic per square foot. So if we go off of, I'm not gonna say 8, I feel like those ones that are rounded kind of cut off a little bit of a square footage, so I'm gonna say 7. If I can plant 7 per bed, 7, wait, if I plant, if I count it as 7 square foot, excuse me, I was gonna say, as opposed to 8 square foot. So, and there's 4 in each. 8 and 4, 16 and 12. What is that? 28. That's 28. So that's 28 cloves. So that actually does more than double that, and that's just those 2 raised beds. So those 2 raised beds are gonna have 28 little pieces of garlic. And what is something I need to remember, right, for this coming, I did nothing for those garlic cloves. I didn't put any mulch. I didn't do anything, and they are growing and they'll probably be fine. But if I want them to be bigger and, you know, a bunch of other things, I am going to mulch this year. The mulch actually price-wise really isn't that bad. So that's 28 just for those 2 raised beds. So if I were to plant something else in them, that's gonna be, I might even move that before fall, because if I can harvest my garlic at the end of June, beginning of July, excuse me, I'll harvest them and then move the beds and then put the soil back in there, top it up with some compost or manure or whatever, and then plant out a quick growing crop. Think along the lines of, I might actually do some radishes at that point. I feel like truly I could do some beans. Some beans are like 60 days, no? Am I being wild? That's 90 to 185 to 120. Maybe I'm being wild. Why did I say 60? Okay, the lima beans is 75 to 100. Here we go. The rattlesnake pole beans is 50 days. So if I did something like planting these out, and I'm like, okay, 50 days this says, so let's say 2 months. And I plant this out for July, August, September. Yeah. So I will harvest maybe 1 or 2 flushes of this, pull this out. No, because they're saying you only want to do it a couple weeks. Yeah. So I'll get probably about maybe 2 flushes of this, and I'll plant out probably the rest of this packet. So I need to purchase some more rattlesnake pole beans. I think I mentioned that to you guys before because we do like these. And I could can that when I pull out, right? And then also plant the garlic there. So that would be 28 in those two. And then I want to plant out, I'm thinking around 40. If I can do 40, that's not taking over too many spots in my garden, but it's also not too little, right? Because if you sit there and now we're looking at 40, if we say 2 garlic a week, right? And we have September, which is 4 weeks. Is my calendar here? Okay, here we go. I have a calendar. I have to start using this. The kids' life is just getting very busy and it just helps. Okay, so we're going September as 1, 2, 3, 4, technically 5. 5 weeks. October, so we can see exactly how many I need to purchase. Not exactly. If there's 5 to 6 cloves that I will plant out, that's about how many I would need. It's October. Wait. Oh. So I'm gonna count the first week of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's only 4 weeks in September. I'm gonna give that last week to October. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in October. Because the first is on Saturday, so it's only 2 days, so I won't count that one. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in November. And then December is perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. So if I'm just trying to garlic. Let's see if I do a little bit. Okay, freezing. All right, so that means if I'm doing 2, that means I would need 8 here, I would need 10 here, 8 here, 10 here. So we're looking at 20 and 16 is 36. We need 36 different cloves. So though that's not too bad. So 40, I'm aiming true with 40. That should, using 2 cloves, like 2 big regular garlic a week, is gonna net me, I need about, let's just say 40 to be safe than sorry, starting from the September to be able to use them. So the 4x2s are gonna have 28, so I actually need less than 10 more. So if I go ahead, and I don't even have this, but if I say for certain, it may not be as tall of a raised bed as I want it to be, so I won't be able to do that to the following year. But if I'm like, the space I told you I'm gonna take on the side of my deck, there can be at minimum 1 raised bed. I really think I can put 2 raised bed. But let's just say financial wise, 1 raised bed can get placed in there in the middle of summer or the end of summer, right? And that will be another, let's say 6x3, the smallest. Because I think I'm just gonna do the wooden ones. For over there, 6x3. So if I have another 6x3 and I take up one side, right? The shorter side, the 3. So that's 3 square foot. And you could put 4, right? So we have 16. So that's 28 and 16. 4, what is that, 44? All right, so we'll have about 44 cloves, which is making our number. And then we still have plenty to go to plant in that one. So that's a great plan. I think that's exactly what I'm gonna go with. So that's, if there are 6, if you hear children, it is what it is. If that's looking at 44 and there's 6 in 1 clove, 6, oops. Five, 10, 15, 20, 25. 40, 41, 142. Okay, so if I'm gonna guess, right, and say I'm gonna get a strong 6 pieces, do you guys think that's too high, that I'm guessing that you can peel 6 pieces from it? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's gonna give me 42, which is fine because I don't want to get a whole nother one. And then it's a bunch more than I need. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need 7 garlic from M.I. Gardner for fall. So the second he opens that up, I'm gonna order 7 of those so that I can break it up to have anywhere from 5 to 8 pieces, and then I'll pick the best that I can of that. And if I needed a few more, I'll just take the second best and plant those out. I don't need the biggest garlic I've ever seen in my life. I also don't want super small garlic. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm gonna buy 7 garlic seed from M.I. Gardner. That's the goal. Now, if I go back and I look and I'm like, no, this is too much, I will buy at least 5, and then I'll get some from other places. But M.I. Gardner has some of the best prices I've ever seen, so I don't think it's gonna be an issue. But if I buy 7 garlic, I will have in my around the 44 mark range of garlic pieces to plant out for next year's garlic harvest. So boom, there we have that. We're gonna see what my onions look like. I don't even want to start planting onions, to be honest, because I don't plant those over the winter. Those get planted out in the spring anyway. Only because I want to see how my planting happened this year. Like what was that like for my harvest, and how long does the harvest last? Because I won't know if I planted enough. Like if maybe I didn't plant enough. Maybe I planted what I felt like is too many before they started sprouted, which it's fine. I'll keep an eye on them and I'll chop them up and put them in the freezer as needed. Like that's completely okay with me. But yeah, so that's kind of all I want to talk about today. So we've said all that. This is chicken scratch. I really don't want to it's chicken scratch. But for September through December, right? So 4 months, the last 4 months out of the year, there are 36. I would need about 36 minimum garlic. I'm gonna put that around 40 to 44. So I will need 7 garlic cloves. And that's me using 2 a week. I think it's, you may think like, oh, I don't need all of that garlic, but I go through a lot of garlic and onion powder. So I'm gonna also attempt to make my own versions of those. Definitely not enough, I think, for the sheer amount I use, plus the garlic, but I think it's gonna supplement a lot. And if I had to lock down and use more, right? So even if I'm like, oh, but I have to use more garlic because of whatever reason, I will go ahead and do that and see how long it lasts. And we'll go through that process together, because I will come on here and talk about how things went. But that's where I'm kind of at. I'm gonna buy 7 pieces of garlic, and that's how I kind of just did that math. I look to see how many months I'm trying to get it for, and each year I'm probably gonna add a couple months, right? So this year I'm just trying to get through, well, not this year, for next year I'm trying to go through the whole fall or winter. This year I was just trying to get through at minimum like just the fall, which with 10 garlic, yeah, I would use a lot. I would just use maybe 1 garlic clove a week, or not. We'll see. We'll see how I do. We'll see how long they last, because I don't actually have a storage, like a storage room. I do have a basement though, and what I think I'm gonna have to before it gets too cold, we're gonna clear out a lot of that basement and start getting bins and stuff to store and push them against the wall so it's clear. And then I'm gonna have my husband install shelves to start putting like the canning stuff that I'm gonna can, because the basement is the coolest, but I don't want to start canning until like September, October, so that in general things are just cooling down, because you don't want it to be too cold, if that makes any sense. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. But then I also don't want things to freeze either. So this is all like gonna be experiment. Let me know where you guys store your canned goods, because I do have a pantry, but I don't keep my house AC on until less absolutely necessary. So it could be roasting downstairs. So it's like one of those catch-22s. I know it probably seems like I'm rambling in this video, but this is just a whole lot of conversing to see. This is kind of how you succession and try to figure out what you're gonna need, especially if you're thinking money wise, like, okay, if I have to buy all of these things, what is exactly that I'm going to need to purchase? Because I know that there are videos that say like, oh, this is exactly how many tomato plants you're gonna have to plant or whatever, but we don't know, right? Because it really depends on how much of something that you consume. I just know we consume a lot. We love garlic and onion over here in the form of, well, my kids will eat it through powder, but my husband and I just like to eat it in our stuff anyway. So that's something, but I know people who don't use as much garlic or don't use as much onion. So this is, all of it's really subjective. And how big is your family? Who in your family will consume it? How much of it do you consume? Like, there's just so many questions to ask yourself that. And then what kind of means are you willing to do to store, right? That's why some people really love winter squash, because they don't have to do anything for it to last a few months in a cooler area. So let's talk about this down in the comment section. What's your thought process when trying to figure out like how much of something you need to grow? Because I am growing on a limited amount of space. I have anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 square foot. I think one day I'm going to have my husband really try to hash that out. I'm not using every bit of that to garden, so I'm trying to get more raised beds as time goes on slowly, as not to just bankrupt myself, so that I can grow more. But no matter how much, I still only have a certain amount of land to grow on, and then that will be that. At one point we'll cap it out, because while I do want to put a bunch of raised beds in, I also still need space for trees, fruit trees, because and bushes, fruit bushes, blueberry bushes, raspberry bushes, blackberry bushes, all thornless, please. Peach trees, apple trees. Honestly, a cherry would be cool as well, I think. That would be very nice to also have. So these are all things that I'm just trying to keep in mind. And I'm thoroughly interested in how you go about your process as well, because it could feel really overwhelming. I feel like I got a little overwhelmed, but we reached the goal that I was thinking about, which is when I pull out my onion and garlic in end of June, beginning of July, what else will I potentially plant out there? Because it does take about 21 days, right? I think they said 10 to 21 days for carrots to even sprout out. So if I don't plant out to July, it might hit in August, which actually, I feel like at this point these days, July is my hottest month, maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It'll start sprouting, and then as it actually starts swelling, the temperatures will be starting to go down. So broccoli is a very big question mark for me, because I might have to wait on that broccoli, because I don't want it to bolt, right? You want it to head properly, but I don't see why beans, beets, and another round of tomatoes couldn't happen in June, because I definitely planted out tomatoes mad late last year. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this whole video, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.